All right, today we've got a really cool story for you from the world of AI. It's a tale of massive ambition, some pretty epic challenges, and a huge leap forward for everyone in the open source community. We are talking about a model on a scale that honestly was just theoretical until very recently.
Yeah, 1 trillion. Just look at that number for a second. That's the number of parameters we are dealing with here. And this isn't just a small step up. It's a completely different league of complexity and power. This number right here sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about.
And this is it. The star of the show is called Ring-1T. It's the very first open source model to hit that 1 trillion parameter mark. And it's been built specifically as a thinking model, meaning its main job is to tackle really complex reasoning. And that open source part, that's a really big deal. And we'll circle back to why in a bit.
So you gotta understand, building this thing wasn't just, another project. It was more like a quest. The whole point was to create an AI that could reason its way through tough problems at a level that up until now we've only seen from the big, closed proprietary models. But to get to that trillion parameter scale, they had to face some seriously huge obstacles. And the team, they actually called these hurdles the 3 scaling dragons, which is a perfect way to put it. These are fundamental problems that don't just get a little worse as you scale up, they get exponentially harder to solve. To pull this off, they couldn't just do more of the same. They had to invent entirely new ways to slay these dragons. So, what are these dragons? Let's meet the villains. First, you've got the dragon of instability, which is where the model basically starts tripping over its own feet. Second, the dragon of inefficiency, which creates these giant traffic jams in the processing. And third, the dragon of system failure, where the whole training system just breaks under the pressure. Let's start with that first one.
So, what's this dragon of instability all about? Well, at its heart, you've got this problem called train-inference misalignment. The easiest way to think about it is that an AI has kind of 2 different brains. There's the training engine that it uses to learn, and an inference engine that it uses to actually generate answers. The problem, they calculate the exact same probabilities in slightly different ways. It's like they're speaking dialects of the same language, but with tiny differences.
Now you might think, a tiny difference, who cares? Well, it turns out it's a massive problem. When the model has to do really long, complex reasoning, these tiny errors start to stack up. They compound on each other, step after step, until they get so big that the whole training process just becomes unstable and can completely fall apart. It's a catastrophic failure waiting to happen. Okay, so if you're going to fight dragons, you need some seriously powerful weapons, right? Well, that's exactly what they did. The team pioneered 3 brand new innovations, each one a magic weapon designed specifically to take down one of these scaling challenges. First up is a weapon called IcePop, and it's basically a stability shield against that dragon of instability. Here's how it works. During training, IcePop is constantly watching. It looks for any of those moments where the 2 brains disagree too much, those noisy, confusing signals, and it just discards them. It pops out the unstable parts before they can cause any damage, which keeps the whole training process incredibly stable and on track. All right, weapon number 2, C3PO+. This one goes after that dragon of inefficiency. See, when you ask an AI to generate a really long, complex answer, it can create a huge bottleneck in the system. C3PO+ is a super efficient training method that solves this in a really clever way. You gotta see how this works. This is super clever. Instead of trying to spit out a huge answer in one go, which will just clog everything up, the model starts working, but then it pauses after it hits a certain budget. Then, and this is the genius part, it trains just on the piece it finished, getting a little bit smarter. The rest of the unfinished task just waits in a buffer, and then the newly upgraded, smarter model picks up right where it left off. Every single step, it evolves. It's brilliant.
And finally, you've got ASystem. Now, this isn't so much a weapon as it is the magic forge where the weapons were made. It's the powerful, custom-built system that makes all of this other stuff even possible. It's what manages the thousands of GPUs, syncs up the model in seconds, and provides that rock-solid foundation you need to even attempt training a trillion-parameter model. All right, so the epic battle is over. The dragons are slain. The weapons worked. But was the quest actually successful? Did it all pay off? Let's check the scoreboard and see how Ring-1T actually performs against the best AIs out there, both open and closed. First up, let's talk mathematical reasoning, which is a really tough test for any AI. Ring-1T scores a 93.4, making it the #1 open-source model out there for this. And get this, it is right on the heels of GPT-5, one of the most powerful closed-source models in existence. For an open-source model, that is absolutely incredible.
Okay, but what about competitive coding? This is where things get really interesting. In this arena, Ring-1T doesn't just hang with the big dogs, it actually comes out on top. It beats everyone, including top proprietary models like GPT-5. That is a massive, massive win for the open source world.
But honestly, this next one might be the most mind-blowing result of all. Ring-1T achieved a silver medal level result at the International Mathematical Olympiad. And it did this using just its reasoning. No extra tools, no code interpreters. This is a competition that challenges the most brilliant humans on the planet. It's just wow.
Look, these scores are amazing, don't get me wrong, but they're not the real story here. What this means for the future of AI development, that's the big deal. This really feels like the dawn of a new era for open source AI. You see, for the longest time, the absolute best AI models, the ones that could really think, were locked away behind corporate walls, only available through an API. What Ring-1T does is it blows those doors wide open. It puts true state-of-the-art reasoning power directly into the hands of researchers and developers everywhere. And that means faster innovation, more collaboration, and progress for all of us. So let's wrap this up. What are the big things to remember here? First, Ring-1T is a landmark, the first ever 1 trillion parameter open source thinking model. Second, it got there by inventing really clever solutions to deep fundamental problems. Third, it has totally reset the bar for what open source AI can achieve in complex reasoning. And finally, and maybe most importantly, it gives researchers everywhere access to world-class AI. And that really brings us to the final big question. The quest to build this thing is done. But in a way, it's just the beginning of 1,000 new quests. Now that we have open source models that can reason at this ridiculously high level, the question isn't just what can AI do anymore? The real question is, what should we ask it to do? What are the grand challenges in science, in medicine, in engineering that we can finally start to tackle? And that's something for all of us to think about.